Hello, welcome back everybody to another episode of Don't Yuck My Yum. I am your host, Carlito Gilchrist. With me, as always, is the co-host, Courtney Gilchrist.
The host with the most.
The host with the mostest. The hostess.
With the mostest.
Do you remember? Well, was that the name of the hostess Twinkies and stuff? Do they still make those?
Hostess?
Yeah.
Right? Surely they do.
Yeah. You ever I had string in my mouth. I had a Twinkie like probably, I don't know, maybe a year ago or more. They're really oily.
They're gross. I don't like them.
No, they're so gross.
I don't know what it is about Twinkies.
I don't know why I loved them so much as a kid.
I mean, you're not the only one.
The oatmeal pies were good though.
Those were better than Twinkies.
Yeah, I would have those in my lunch every day.
Did you ever eat snowballs?
Ew, no.
Apparently no one likes snowballs.
No one likes snowballs. The movie Zombieland solidified that. No one likes snowballs.
I kept thinking about Zombieland, but he was obsessed with Twinkies, and I'm like, bro, why?
I feel like he'd rather starve than eat a whole truck of snowballs.
He did, apparently.
Yeah. Well, they went on the conquest to find more Twinkies.
I know.
Anyway, welcome back, everybody, to the show. So this is the podcast where my wife and I, we make each other watch or just absorb any media of certain things. And it's, usually something that one person really likes and enjoys, and then the other person has to absorb it, and then they decide whether they yuck it or yum it.
Yes. So far, we're just doing movies right now.
It's because it's easy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's a little easier. But maybe eventually we'll get into, either shows or books. We'll see how that goes down the line.
Comics, those are quick to read.
Those are quick to eat.
They are. Well, probably not, actually. If I had tried to eat this comic right now, this would probably take me,
I don't think you should.
10 days.
Disclaimer, do not eat comics.
Don't eat surrounds of paper. They may not digest well.
Don't do it.
I don't think they would digest. I think you would just have, little scraps of paper in your poo.
When I was a kid, no joke, it's okay. I chewed some gum, hear me out. When I was a kid, I had some gum that I stole out of my mom's purse because I wanted some gum, and then I couldn't get the paper off.
Oh, so you just...
And so I chewed it with the paper, and then I freaked out because I accidentally swallowed the gum, and then I, freaked out. I thought I was gonna die.
Oh my gosh.
I remember running into my parents' closet and crying, and my dad found me. He's like, what's going on? And I'm like, Daddy, I'm gonna die. He goes, why? I was like, because I ate paper. I literally thought that. I remember the feeling,
it's gonna cut me in my insides.
Yeah, I thought it was poison. I thought I was gonna die.
Oh my gosh. You're so sweet.
It was terrifying.
I'll do you one better. This one time when... I don't know why I'm gonna tell this. I've never said this out loud. But when I was little, the first house my parents and I lived in, I don't know why, but I just got into this weird habit one night where I was going up to this plant and I would take the leaves off and I'd chew the leaves and I spit them out. And then I don't know why I did this, but then I just got a really bad sore throat.
Did you see this in a movie and you thought it was cool?
You know what? It may have been Land Before Time. I'm like, I want to try this.
Oh, eating the tree stars?
Yeah.
And you're like, I want to be
Those look scrumptious, and I'm like, they're not, so I would just keep spitting them out. But I like the sound, but I like the feel and the crunch in my mouth, but then I would just spit it out. Yeah, well, and then I got a really bad sore throat.
Oh my gosh. At least you didn't eat it.
I guess I didn't poison myself.
No. Okay, yeah.
And then I would have died, which is a good segue into this. So this week, Courtney had me watch the beloved movie from 1990, starring Patrick Swayze, the most amazing Patrick Swayze, and
Patrick,
and Demi Moore.
Demi, not Demi, but Demi.
Demi, sorry.
Apparently.
Don't at me, everybody. Who's Demi Moore?
I think you said
lovers.
It right, but I'm just clarifying. Apparently she goes by Demi and not Demi because she's fancy like that.
She's lived a hard life, I heard. My mom told me about it. Well, I don't know. I know she had issues with her mom, and I know her and Bruce Willis were married for a while, but she said he was a really good father. But that's beside the point.
Yes.
But Ghost.
Ta-da!
Trying to think how do you express like audibly how that title suddenly appears?
Like, ding, ding, ding. Like it was like one of those.
It's like Psycho.
Yeah, it was like a Psycho. Like when you first start the film, you almost think this is going to be a horror film. Like, say you'd never heard of it, you didn't know what it was. Mm-hmm. You're like, oh man, this is spooky. This is creepy. You're like, what is this? And then it calms down. After, like, right after that, then you get introduced to the characters. But you're like, oh, okay, I guess it's not a horror film. But it is spooky.
It's spooky. So I'm sure people listening to this have seen the movie Ghost. And if you haven't, I suggest go watch it before listening to this because we're going to spoil the heck out of it.
Spoilers. I mean, I think everybody should know this for all the episodes.
We spoil the movies.
We spoil absolutely everything. So definitely watch the movie before you listen.
Right.
Just FYI.
And from now on, we're going to try to have it planned out where we know what we're going to watch next week.
Yes.
So then if anybody actually wants to like
follow
us, then you can watch the movie like in between now and again if you haven't seen it. Yeah.
Then you watch it before the next episode and then you can review it with us.
And then if it's a movie where you're just like, I'm not watching that, that's fine. You can skip that episode. You just won't know what the next one is.
True.
So then how are you going to know?
We
got them.
You should listen.
Yeah, we'll do. It's like a Marvel technique. You have to
watch.
Listen to every episode to understand what we're talking about.
I guess a brief description about Ghost is: after a young man is murdered, his spirit stays behind to warn his lover of impending danger with the help of a reluctant psychic. This was a quick IMDb plot.
Basically, what happens is Patrick Swayze's character, Sam Wheat, the whitest name for a movie character I think I've ever heard in my life.
I do wonder where they come up with
Sam Wheat.
The last name. Like, okay, I get Sam. Sam's a very common name.
Yeah.
But Sam Wheat.
Wheat.
Say my name. Sam Wheat. Sam Wheat. Sam Wheat.
I don't know. I think it's just, it's all random. They just come up with, sometimes names mean something. I think in this case, it doesn't mean anything. No. There's no connection with wheat to the afterlife. But basically the plot of the movie is Patrick Swayze's character, Sam Wheat, him and Demi Moore are in a relationship. And
Sam and Molly.
Yeah, and he gets killed after a mugging. And his spirit decides not to move on.
No.
And
how could you?
I know. Well, after something like that,
somebody so quick, like they were literally walking home from going to the opera, right?
Shakespeare.
It's on Macbeth, right?
Yeah.
And literally they're just talking, and they had this really nice moment where
it's a cute thing that happens between them. Like they're talking about like their future or whatever, and Molly brings up the fact that he never says "I love you." Mm-hmm. And he's like, what are you talking about? I say it all the time. And she goes, no, you say ditto. And that's not the same thing. Yeah. And that kind of becomes like how do you say it? Like a thing that everybody knows. A theme, yeah. Everybody knows like that, like ditto is kind of like
back at you.
Yeah. It's I mean, for the movie, like if you ever think of ghosts or talk about ghosts, most likely someone's going to be like, oh, ditto. Like
ditto.
It's like a thing.
So, like, if I say ditto to you, you know I'm referring to ghost.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
That's right. I don't know how that was a struggle to say.
But it's fine. I'm just sitting here nodding like, yeah, that's okay, cool.
Yes, dear.
Yeah. This
know
is
what I'm saying?
very well explanation. Yeah, I understand now.
I don't know. What's the word for that? Like an
ism? I don't know. A ghostism.
A ghostism.
It's my ghostism. I say ditto. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I was just going to say... Just like how you explain the IMDb. So, basically, Patrick Swayze, he sticks around, mm-hmm. His spirit sticks around through her. Obviously, she can't see him because he's dead. But then things start to unravel because he finds out, like, he was murdered, like, for a reason. And so things kind of develop in that sense.
It becomes more complicated.
So there's more of a plot to it than it's just...
Yeah, it's just that, well, he got killed and he doesn't want to leave.
Yeah, which you could have easily made the movie like that, but I think it's cool that they kind of add like a little conspiracy to the tale.
It became suspenseful because you're like, well, who was this guy? Because he comes back. Like, the guy who killed him shows up at their apartment.
Yes.
And you're like, well, okay, how did he know that? How did he know where she lived? How did they find it? And he still had his wallet.
Yeah, that's where his key was.
So he was able to get in there, but he was like looking for something. So you're kind of like, what is going on?
Mm-hmm. Well, I was going to ask you, before we get too deep into the plot,
Okay.
why do you like this movie?
I mean, what's not to like?
Okay, tell us, how'd you first see it?
Okay.
And what were your first reactions?
Okay. I was in high school, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the exact age, but I know I was young. And I was at a friend's house, shout out Olivia, and we were watching the movie. Like, she put it on, she had seen it, and I don't remember exactly how it came up, but I remember her being like, what, you've never seen Ghost? So then I kind of was like, oh, I guess this is something I need to see. And then as a girl, you know, and then so...
Because it's a gross romantic movie. Not really.
It is, but it isn't.
It isn't. It is, but it isn't.
It's like,
I'd say like 10% of it is.
Yeah.
Most of it gets pretty wild. Anyway.
Yeah, so my first impressions was like...
I think when I first watched it that young, it was just kind of like, whoa, like, what is this?
It was a sexual awakening for you.
You could say that.
Yeah.
You could say that. That's fair.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, even the scene when everyone knows the famous
pottery scene.
Yeah, where she's sculpting and he starts helping her and they're rubbing their hands together and the main love song's playing.
Oh, yeah, which that song will be in your head
for the rest of the night.
For the rest of the night.
And in your dreams. And the next morning when you go to work.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great song.
It's a great song.
But it will be stuck in your head for sure.
Sung by a couple white boys, which I did not expect.
I didn't know that either.
I was like, I thought it was like some soulful black dude. Like, you know, that's what it sounds like. And it's like, oh, it's two white dudes. That's crazy.
Well, why don't you tell them what the song is? Because somebody may not know what that is. Do you remember the song?
You don't remember the song?
Well, what's the name of the song?
You sing it for him, babe.
No. Well, what's the title? Just My Love, or?
I'm pretty sure it's
Are you trying to look it up?
Yeah, I'm trying to look it up because I don't want to like butcher it.
It's just put in like main theme song from Ghost. Yeah. Main love song from Ghost.
Song from Ghost. Because apparently we're blanking right now.
That's okay. I blanked on my social security number yesterday, so it's fine.
I know. How does somebody do
know.
that? That's what it's called. It's called
Unchained Melody by the Righteous Brothers.
That's what it's called. I thought so.
Okay. Fair enough.
And yeah, when you look at them up, you're like, who's these guys?
Yeah.
I thought it was. This is soulful black gang, you know?
Gang.
Not a gang.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean.
So.
And it's two white guys.
Wow.
Look how old
Oh
them.
my gosh. They're so old.
Well, yeah. I wonder if they're still alive.
Probably not. No, I'm sure.
Are both Righteous Brothers dead?
Somebody Google.
Jeez.
How did
People are
the
savage
Righteous
when they Google
Brothers
things.
die?
So, when you first saw it, what were
Yes.
your like reactions? Like, what did you like it? Were you put off by it or any way, or like, and what made it stay with you that you ended up like liking it a lot into these later years?
I think what stuck out to me was, well, obviously Patrick Swayze is a gem, and he is a very good actor. And I think just what stood out was the story. Like, I thought it was a very different kind of story that you didn't really see. Like, that wasn't like a go-to thing. You know, I grew up in Disney films and that sort of stuff. So it wasn't like, I'm not going to see a movie of a guy who's a ghost that sticks around. And if you think about it, you're kind of like, how does that work? But they make it work really well, of this guy who gets killed and then solves his own murder.
Yeah. No, I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
What I liked just right out of the hat with, like, after you get past all the, just kind of like the beginning stuff and setting up the characters.
Like, meeting them and getting to know who they are.
Yeah, right after he's killed, because it's like he's struggling with the mugger, and then you just hear a gunshot, and then you see the mugger running away, and then it's Patrick Swayze's chasing after him. I'm going to call him Patrick Swayze. I'm not calling him Sam Wheat.
That's okay.
It's Patrick Swayze. He's Patrick Swayze. But anyway, he's running after him, and so you just think like, oh, the gun just went off and he's just chasing after him. But then when he turns back around and looks at Molly, he sees himself, his bloody corpse being cradled by her, and she's just like crying and freaking out.
Yeah.
And just that moment, he doesn't know what to think right now. And it's just conveyed so well on his face.
I know. Because I think that could easily be overacted.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he did such a good job of just being stunned.
Yeah.
Like not overreacting, just being like shocked. Like what do you do? It's like watching a car accident, and if like you see someone like fly through the windshield. Like if you saw that in real life, you would just
Oh my gosh.
freeze for at least half a second. You just would not know how to react, what to do. And also just her acting when she's holding him, like just that look on her face was so unnerving.
She was very good at crying, I must say.
Yeah, didn't you read that apparently she could cry on cue?
Yeah, apparently that was one of the main reasons why they chose her, was she could cry on demand she's like, okay, they're like, okay, cry out of your left eye. And she's like, okay, cry out of your right eye. And then she could do it. Like, she could control which tear came out what eye. I'm like, who can do that?
That's ridiculous.
Like,
that's inhuman.
Doesn't seem possible, but apparently she can.
That's weird.
I know.
That can't just be acting. That just has to be some weird thing she has. Just some weird, like I don't know, oversaturated eye condition.
What a neat party trick you have.
Yeah.
I can cry out of either eye on command.
Watch. Watch me do this.
I wonder, like, how does she do it? Does she have to, like hold her nose and blow and then just water comes out?
No. Apparently not. She doesn't do that.
She probably was able to, she probably used that as a trick, maybe as, growing up. Who knows?
Probably.
Just I'm just going to start crying.
All right.
It's so
how
easy.
do you teach yourself to do that, you
Yeah.
know?
She gets an F on a test or something. She's just I'm just going to start crying. She'll give me an A. I don't know. I don't think she did that. But, I'm like, if you could actually do that, I would take advantage of it in some way.
Yeah.
But,
You get pulled over by the cops.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Just be like,
I'm pretty sure every woman can do that.
Probably.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Just instantly start crying.
If a guy does it, they're just
they're like,
get a hold of yourself.
They're like, what's wrong with you, baby?
But yeah, so the scene where he gets killed, and then all of a sudden, there's a light that appears, and so it's his moment to move on.
Yeah.
And he decides not to take it because he's just so in shock of what is happening, and things start unfolding to where no one can see him, and he can just walk through stuff, and I like all the little things they do. So that one point he's at the hospital, and the one that's a guy or a doctor walks through him.
Yeah, the doctor. Yeah.
And when it happens, you see what Patrick Swayze's seeing, and he's seeing all of the red nerves and stuff inside the guy's head. I was like, oh my gosh, that's so weird and creepy.
Because I don't think you really see that in other movies. Like, if a ghost goes through something, you're not seeing what they're seeing. But I've always thought about that. I was like, if you go through something, wouldn't you see the inside of whatever that is?
Yeah.
And then they showed that, and you're like, what? And then he freaks out and faints.
Yeah, I know.
A ghost who faints.
Ugh.
He does.
He would.
It's okay.
But then there's the old man he sees in the hospital, which I thought was sweet. It's an old man ghost.
It's an old man ghost, and he's like, oh, you're new, huh?
Yeah.
And I thought that was kind of cute, kind of funny. It's kind of almost like this isn't the first time he's talked to somebody.
And so it seems like he's probably been dead a while.
Yeah. And then he's like, I think Patrick then Swayze's like, oh, what are you doing here or something? And he's like, oh, I'm waiting for my wife. She's fighting hard.
Yeah. I thought that was sweet.
I was like, oh.
So how it's who knows how long he's been dead. He could have been dead a few years, and he's just been waiting for his wife. He's like, I don't want to move on until she's with me.
Yeah.
Which I thought was really sweet.
Yeah, I was like,
that's so interesting.
But, that was something I wanted to address. Well, no, you know what? We'll wait on that because I feel like we got to get deeper into the plot. So, okay. There's the friend guy. What's his name?
Carl.
Ugh, he's the worst person.
Crazy Carl.
So it turns out that it's basically Carl. It's all his fault. Because him and Sam, Patrick Swayze, they work at a banking something institution together.
Yeah, it's just a bank. They're bankers.
Yeah.
They're businessmen.
It's Wall Street or something. It's just the typical job thing you'd put in a movie at this time. But it turns out that I guess Carl was embezzling money, and he needs these certain codes from Patrick Swayze's wallet, so he hires a guy to mug him. But of course that's what went wrong.
Yeah, it goes south.
It went south, and that's what that's how Patrick Swayze got killed. So later, the killer ends up finding his way into their old apartment, and Patrick Swayze's there, and he's a ghost, but he can't warn Molly. And then the guy's like in there, and he's trying to figure out, like, why are you in here? What So that's what unravels, like, him trying to figure out, like, okay, what's going on here? Like, why is the guy who accidentally killed me in my apartment?
Yeah.
And then this leads into him going to that guy's place, and then he ends up just stumbling upon, which I thought was interesting. It was just like he just like happened to see the Whoopi Goldberg's place of business, the seance lady
walking around, and he looks over and he sees, like, one of those blinking neon lights of, oh, psychic, get your reading, talk to a forgotten loved one or something, and he's all like, oh, I'll give it a shot.
Yeah,
like,
which I thought was very convenient, but I'm like, well, we got to go somewhere.
We gotta go somewhere with it.
Yeah, so I thought that was kind of funny. He just sees that, and he's just like, I'm gonna go check this out. We'll see how this goes. But so then he goes in there, and then he's talking to he's not talking to anybody. He's just talking, and it turns out that Whoopi Goldberg, what's her name?
Oda Mae Brown.
Oda Mae Brown.
So she's like,
she's a con artist. She's a hoax. Like, obviously, she doesn't believe that she's, doing this legitimately at all.
No, she's just pulling everyone.
She's pulling So she's pulling a fast one on this woman, like, acting like she can hear and talk to this woman's late husband.
Yeah.
And Sam's in there witnessing and watching this whole farce, and then he's like, oh, what a load of crap. And then she's hearing him, so she's kind of like looking around, and she'd be like, who said that?
Yeah.
And as he's like, as she's doing it, he's making comments, and then finally she just can't take it. She's like, who is that? Like, do you all hear it? Like, she's talking to her sisters, and they're like, no. And they're like, what's going on?
I like how they're trying to coax the money out of the lady.
Yeah.
That she's like pretending to hear her dead husband, because she's just like, oh no, I can't break through. And the one sister starts to give the money back, and she's like, wait, I think I hear something. Yeah. No, I can't. And then the lady's like,
I'll pay more.
I pay more. And she's just like, okay, another 20. And then he's like, I'm connecting back with the forces.
It's really funny, like, I think, comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which that was something I kind of wanted to address. Like, because I felt like right off the bat with, like, the opening titles and everything, like, and then, like, him getting killed, it definitely goes into, like, a heavy, dramatic type movie.
Yeah.
But there were some comedic elements, not all of them, but there were some that I felt like, okay, this is kind of too much, The one,
like, over the top or cheesy?
Yeah, not even that. They just kind of, it goes too long. It's like, okay, we know the joke, you can end it now.
What part?
The part with the check later in the movie when he makes Oda Mae Brown take the money out, and then he's like, give the money away, and then they're trying to discuss, like, how to give it away, and then they, give it to the nuns. But then there's, like, the whole long, drawn-out thing where she has to, like, take it out of her purse and hand it to the nun, and the nun's, like, grabs onto it, and she won't give it to the nun because it's $4 million, and she doesn't want to give it up. But I was just like, okay, this is kind of lasting a little long, like, this joke. Like, I get it. She doesn't want to give up the money, but I just felt like in the whole, like, spectrum of the movie, I was like, okay, this joke's just a little too, it's just lingering,
Okay.
That was kind of the only one, but, like, most of the other jokes were fine. Like, just all the little quirkiness, which mostly came from Whoopi Goldberg's character.
Yeah, I mean, she was definitely the comic relief.
Yeah.
To be sure.
Yeah.
But,
and she's, like, hearing ghosts, and then she's, like, freaking out in the street, and it sounds like she's talking to herself, and the guy's like,
she's very
like, hey,
sassy.
Yeah, and the guy's like, hey, shut up. And she's like, you shut up. And
she's
I'm
like, I ain't talking to you.
It's very, very New York vibe movie.
Yeah, well, she was from, what, like, New Jersey or something?
Was it New Jersey? I don't know.
Or, like, the Bronx or something.
Maybe the Bronx. It's just, like, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, the not-so-good part of town. And But, I mean, that's just New York in general.
Yeah.
Like, everyone just is pissed at each other all the time. And they just yell at each other.
Patrick Swayze had some funny moments, like when he's singing Henry VIII over and over to get her to do what he needs.
Yeah, so
like,
to get her to do what he wants.
Get her help.
Because he's a ghost. He doesn't sleep. He doesn't get tired. So he just continually sings because she can just hear him. So just to annoy her. And he's singing, was he singing Henry VIII something?
I'm Henry VIII, I am.
Yeah.
Henry VIII, I am.
And
Your favorite part was like, second verse,
same as the first. And he just sings it again.
She's like, all right.
And then when she goes and talks to Molly and is trying to
Yeah.
convince her, like, he's talking to me and all this, she tells him, like, oh yeah, he keeps singing Henry VIII to me, and it turns out like he was singing that to Molly to make her go out with him. Like, I guess just annoying her into wanting to date him.
I thought it's like these those little cute things. Like they made, I think what the film did well was they made Molly and Sam's relationship very real.
Mm-hmm.
Like a very realistic relationship of like those little funny stories or anecdotes about like that, like them going on a trip together. Like she'll mention like, oh, it's a picture he took of me on our vacation, or it's the sweater I knitted. It's like these mundane normal things that a couple would do that they said it, like they made that aware about them,
right?
So you kind of felt that this was like a real couple who's been together a long time,
because in order to convince Molly that like I'm actually talking to your dead boyfriend, he was like telling Otome, like, tell her about this, like
this stuff that he would only know,
only they would know together, no one else would know about this stuff,
right?
So I thought that was kind of cool. But yeah, I just blanked. Do you have anything right now?
Yeah, I think I'm a sucker for a good romance story. So that definitely was a draw for me. Mm-hmm. But I think what I liked about the film is it was more than just that.
Oh, now I remember what I was going to say. Yeah, like, because you mentioned the, so like the sculpting scene. Apparently, like when Demi Moore's like working on the sculpture and then Patrick Swayze touches it and it just collapses. Apparently that wasn't supposed to happen, but they kept going.
That was a real moment. Like it was a blooper that wasn't supposed to happen, but then they just kept going with it,
right?
And it made it cute. It made it more real. Kind of like, oh yeah, it's likely it's gonna.
Yeah.
And he definitely ad-libbed the part where he was like, oh, sorry, I hope that wasn't a masterpiece.
Yeah.
And then she's like, well, not now.
Again, yeah, like, but you could tell, like, these two definitely had chemistry.
I mean, how could you not have chemistry with Patrick Swayze?
I know. Even I got chemistry with Patrick Swayze. We would get along so well if he was still alive. Rest in peace.
I know. Poor guy.
I remember when I heard about it, he died.
He was
like,
young. He was only like, what, 57?
Yeah. Which I think, I looked at his career. I mean, he was kind of one of those 80s actors where, like, he did, like, a few, like, really standout movies. But then he kind of faded into more, like, TV realm.
Yeah.
Because I think the last, I don't know what the show was, but he actually filmed a whole season of some cop show or detective show he was doing. Wow, he had cancer.
So he really worked until the day he died.
He did, yeah. And then, of course, the show got canceled because he passed away. So.
Oh.
Yeah. But yeah, it's like he only has like a few standout movies I can think of. This, Outsiders, and then Dirty Dancing, which I haven't seen, and Roadhouse, which I also haven't seen. But I wanted to talk about, actually, when I was thinking about the killer guy, I can't remember his name, but apparently Willie Lopez. He's in this other movie. He's in Carlito's Way. He's in the movie I'm named after.
That's cool.
I don't know who as. We're going to have to watch it for the show sometime. Okay. And I'll point him out and be like, there he is. There's Willie. But he plays like a small role in that movie. But he has like one of those distinct looks about him where I'm like, I haven't seen him in that much, but he's definitely in some. Yeah. It was definitely his face.
Well, another cool little tidbit is the guy who plays Carl, Tony Goldwyn. Carl. He actually voices Tarzan.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was racking my brain. I was
from Disney's Tarzan.
Yeah, I was like, he looks so familiar. His voice is familiar. I was like, who is that? And I was like, oh, it's Tarzan.
I'll have to hear that again.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I mean, he's obviously, 10 years older by the time he
did Tarzan.
So maybe his voice is a little lower, but yeah, but that's him.
He's good looking too.
Yeah, no, they were both good looking. I could tell that like that was probably the younger guy because he looked more like Patrick Swayze still looked good, but I could tell like I think he was probably in his late 30s. I was like, oh, Patrick Swayze's looking a little older. Like I could tell in his body, but
yeah. Well, this guy was born in 1960.
Oh, so he was a little younger than Patrick Swayze.
Not too much younger.
Yeah, not too much.
What, like maybe 8 years?
I like look at these guys and I'm like, I get that they're Hollywood actors and they have to look this way, but at the same time I'm like, these characters in this movie, these bankers, would they really be this fit? Like they just look like Herculean, just supermodels. Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Because all these guys, because I'm pretty sure all guys on Wall Street did was like do cocaine and then worry about numbers. Like, I'm pretty sure they would be like rail thin. I don't think they would have any bulk to them. I don't know.
Maybe these bankers are different.
I guess. Well, no. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Carl,
yeah. And how devastating
person.
for when Sam, Patrick Swayze's character, like when he found out that Carl was behind the murder.
Yeah, he hired the guy to mug him.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's like, man, that's your best friend.
That's your best friend. Like, how could you?
I know. That was a big plot twist, I think. Like, I don't know, maybe people, when the movie first came out, I wonder if people saw it coming. Like, did you see it coming?
Yeah. I saw it coming from a million miles away.
Well, he
I'm
was
like, who
a very
else?
suspicious guy.
Oh,
like,
the
he
whole
was always
time.
like kind of like jumpy.
Yeah. Or just even at the beginning, because when it opens with
it's like the
three
three
characters.
Of them.
Yeah, the three of them,
So,
like, they're tearing down a wall in the place that they're going to make their new apartment.
Yeah, they're like renovating it.
And Demi Moore like jumps in Patrick Swayze's arms. Like, I could just tell, like, he's just standing there just like
very like like he's definitely the third
stewing
wheel.
in it. Yeah.
He's like, oh, I could have her.
Yeah, which he tries to do. He's so gross.
I know, that was really making you mad.
I hate. Well, that's terrible because
I know.
she lost. I mean, she horrifically lost the person that she loved, and he's just preying on her vulnerability,
yeah.
And she starts to fall for it because
she's hurt and she's
so
lonely.
yeah.
And
she doesn't know what to think.
And Carl's familiar. Like
he's
been around forever.
Yeah.
So it's like
What he gets, I was like, yeah, you deserve that.
Right.
Which we'll get to.
Yep.
But yeah, some of the stuff I wanted to address too. So I think this will be a quick one, but like it was one of those movies where the plot was engaging enough to where the special effects I was very forgiving of.
Right.
It was definitely of its time.
Yeah.
But just like the wonky composites, like where
it's so bad.
Like right out of the hat when Patrick Swayze, he's on the train and the other ghost train man like grabs him and he like holds him outside the train.
Oh, and
But you can just tell, like, it's just, obviously, like, this is filmed on, like, a green screen, and then they put him in the shot.
Yeah, if you're big on special effects, that's not going to be a reason to watch this movie.
No. But, again, I think the plot drives it enough to where it's enjoyable, you kind of...
you like you said, you forgive it.
You gotta just be like, it's fine.
It's part of the time. It's obviously not the best special effects by any means. It's pretty kind of like bad.
I mean, so the ones that I'd say are the best is jumping ahead a bit, but like at the end when Patrick Swayze finally moves on, and it's just that wide shot of like I guess heaven, the light. And, like, you see the people, like, that was kind of, okay, I was, like, fine with that.
Yeah, because it was more kind of abstract-y, blurry.
Yeah,
like, you're not seeing details. It was just, like, this.
That was okay. Mm-hmm. But the stuff in it, there was, like, some really scary stuff in it.
I know.
Mostly the demons, or whatever the heck they are.
So, you first see these demons during the course of the movie, when Sam is trying to find Willie, he follows Carl to his apartment because he thinks Carl is going after this guy. Mm-hmm. And then Sam, over the course of the movie, kind of learns how to start touching and pushing things and affecting things because of the train ghost kind of shows him how.
The train man from the Matrix.
He trains him. The train ghost trains him.
Oh my gosh, she did it! She did it! She told the best joke of the entire show. That's probably the best joke we're ever gonna have. Yeah, actually, real quick, I was getting flashbacks of the train man. Because, the train man from the Matrix.
yes and no.
Have you seen The Matrix?
Yeah, I've seen it, but it's been a while.
Have you seen the third Matrix movie?
No, probably not.
Oh, you don't have to. It's not that good. We probably won't do it for this then. But there's a character in the third Matrix where I shouldn't explain this, but okay. So basically, Neo, the main character, Keanu Reeves, he gets stuck in some weird limbo thing within the Matrix at some point, which is like called the train station. And it's like he tries to like run through the tunnel, but like he just ends up in the same place. He can only get out on a train, and there's a program dude called the Train Man who runs it. He looks more like hobo-ish and disheveled than this version of the Train Man, but that's just who it reminded me of.
Oh,
I wonder if that's where they got the idea.
It could be.
But anyway, yeah, that's who he learns to like touch things from, is the Train Man.
Yeah, so he channels his emotions, his anger, his hurt.
Basically, got to get angry.
Yeah, you kind of get pepped up enough to kind of like focus that energy to push something and move something.
Yeah.
So he figures out how to do that. So then when he gets to Willie's apartment with Carl, he gets so angry. He starts freaking Carl out and Willie, because he starts like, manipulating doors and closing them in front
Pushing
of him.
him.
Yeah, and starts pushing him, closing doors against him. And so he kind of is like instigating him, and Willie's freaking out because he's being pushed around by nothing.
Yeah. Because at this point, Patrick Swayze's plan has worked where he had Oda Mae Brown go to the bank and use a fake ID.
Yes.
Which apparently she has like a record of like, false identities and such.
Yeah, which is funny.
And has her pull all this money out of this account so that Carl can't transfer these funds to whoever he owes the money to.
Because that was the whole purpose of why Sam was killed, was to get this money.
Yeah. And
then Sam ended up beating him and taking that money away. And so Carl freaks out.
So a way to gloat, he kind of just starts messing with him. He starts typing on the computer like Sam.
Yeah.
Murderer. Which that part where Carl's like, he can't transfer the money. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, I think he's going to have a stroke. It's so stressful.
I'm like, he's going to have an ulcer.
Yeah. He's like freaking out. Well, yeah, because he knows he's in trouble. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, so like, so when because I noticed that he's able to like do these things, and it's like, so like some parts are kind of comical, like, because at one point he like writes boo in the shower, like on the mirror.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, little things like that.
Little things are kind of funny, like a little like quirky that way. Like he's so messing with him.
I know.
Like you can't not have fun with that.
Well, yeah, something I did want to address as well. So I was thinking about this like as we were watching it. I'm like, okay, I know that the guy who killed Patrick Swayze and Carl, they both get killed.
Yeah.
Sort of indirectly from him.
Indirectly from Sam, but I don't think Sam, like,
he doesn't kill them.
He doesn't kill them. Like, okay, sorry, come full circle. That's how you see the demons first.
Yeah.
So, like, so when he's pushing Willie around, he runs out into the street, and because he's freaking out, and then he gets hit by a car. He gets smashed in between two cars. Yeah, he gets like
jacked in between like two cars.
Yeah, which Sam didn't push him into the street, but he just ran in there because he was freaking out because of Sam.
Right.
But then, so that's where you see these creatures for the first time, is they come and then take his ghost away.
They kind of like...
They come out of shadows. Yeah, they appear and morph from the shadows. And
they look ridiculous. They look like little
really
cartoons.
Stupid.
They kind of look like...
If you look at them too long, you're like, what?
They kind of, to me, they look like some of the floating spirits from Fantasia.
Kingdom Hearts.
No.
Yeah.
I never played Kingdom Hearts.
Oh.
Fantasia.
Okay.
The Satan on the Hill portion, when you see all the floating spirits. That's what I thought.
Yeah, I could see
Kingdom
that.
Hearts.
Well, yeah, in the game Kingdom Hearts, it's a Disney game.
Yeah.
It's like Final Fantasy plus Disney
game, Kingdom Hearts. And there's these heartless creatures. That's what it kind of reminded me of.
Oh.
But I could see yours too, as well.
Do you still have Kingdom Hearts?
No, my brother used to play that when he was younger.
I should play that.
Those are really fun
Never played
games.
those. I would love to watch you play them because I know you're such a Disney nerd.
I know.
But when the demons come out, what makes it, the appearance doesn't make them spooky.
What makes them?
It's the sound.
Oh my gosh.
They made this sound effect, which just sounds awful. It just
makes
screaming.
It makes you want to like cringe. It like makes you scrunch up, and you're like, ugh.
It makes you never want to do a bad thing again because you think like, oh gosh, if I die and go to hell, is this what's going to happen? Is this the stuff that's going to like come and drag me down? That's the last thing you ever hear being in the material world.
It'd be terrible. Which I read that sound, they produce that sound by having recordings of babies crying slowed down and then played backwards.
Ugh.
And that's how they created that sound. And it's like the worst sound in the world.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, you ever heard a baby cry? It can be the worst sound in the world.
Well, yeah, but then to think like, what sound should we have these creatures make? Like, who came up with the thought of, let's just slow this baby cry down. Okay, now let's play it backwards.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how do you come up with that?
I know. This sound guys, man, that's just what they do.
Yeah, but that's how you see these creatures first, is because they take Willie away.
Right.
And they grab him, and he's just like freaking out, and he just goes into the distance until he becomes gone. Yeah,
he's just gone. It's like there's no like portal that opens or anything. It's almost like they're just dragging him away.
Yeah, there's no portal, there's no fire or brimstone or anything like that.
It's just nothing.
It's just they just go. He goes smaller and smaller and smaller until he's gone.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, wow, that was crazy.
But then the same thing happens to Carl when he dies.
Yeah, so
I was almost more like, okay, I think Sam may have caused his death. Because Carl like falls into this window, and then doesn't Sam like throw something at the window that makes the glass fall, and the glass like just pierces Carl right in the chest?
now I'm kind of blanking on what did he throw?
I don't remember. He just throws something, and he throws it at the window, and it breaks. All the glass breaks, and then a shard of it just comes down and gets Carl right in the chest, and that's what kills him because there's like all that fake blood that splatters everywhere.
I didn't think he threw anything though.
I thought he did, or something.
But yeah, something breaks the glass, but I thought it was because
we may have to rewatch this scene because I thought Carl was trying to escape,
and I thought he like threw open the window really fast, so it cracked and like broke the glass, and then that's what caused it to fall. Mm-hmm. But now I'm gonna have to rewatch it.
You may have to, because I really did. I watched that and I was like, I'm pretty sure Sam just kind of sort of helped kill him. But to be fair, that's what I wanted to get at is like, so okay, if you're a ghost and you decide to stay behind and you were already given the choice to like move on, but you didn't want to,
but you didn't take it. Yeah.
And then what if you kill somebody? Do you still? Does that count because you're already dead? So can you just do whatever you want?
No, I don't think so. Because
I would think the second you kill somebody, the demons are just going to come out and drag you down.
Yeah, I don't think so because the demons took
bad people who did bad things.
Yeah. He wasn't doing a bad thing.
He wasn't doing a bad thing. He was trying. It was almost like he stayed because he was trying to protect Molly. Then he was trying to solve his own murder and make things right.
Yeah.
And then I think that's kind of why he was able to then go to the light, because he completed his mission. Molly's safe. The killers have been dealt with.
Yeah.
And he can move on. He's at peace now.
The part where, though, like Carl, when both the guys get dragged away, just the look on Sam's face, Patrick Swayze's face.
I did like that part, though, when you realize, like, Carl dies and he doesn't know it, but he can see Sam.
Yeah.
And he's like, Sam. And he's like, oh, Carl. Like, he knows what's going to happen. He doesn't say sorry, but you feel that. Uh-huh. You're like, oh, he knows what's coming.
He's like, you've done some bad stuff,
and he's
man.
Like, oh, Carl, how could you? Like, why'd you do it, man?
Yeah.
Like, for money and for
nothing.
For nothing.
It's awful.
I know.
But yeah, I thought that was interesting how they don't directly reference heaven and hell.
No.
It's just kind of like
light and dark.
the light
Yeah.
like shines down, and then obviously the demons that represents, I guess, hell, but they never directly
They never flat
address
out
it.
say it, but you just assume.
I think that's probably the smart move, just because you get into that realm of like, you know, because I feel like movies have to do a thing where it's like we can't, unless this is a religious movie or say a Christian movie, we're not going to full on like show like, okay, this is the sort of religious representation we're going with this. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You kind of have to stay neutral, because it's, no matter who you are, if you're, you know, if you're not a believer, if you're kind of like, it's like you know the vague idea of like, okay, humanity believes that there is a place where you go that like that's where the good people go, and then there's a place where you go where the bad people go. So they have to like stay neutral, I think, in that.
Yeah.
To not isolate audiences.
It was very general.
Yeah.
It was just like, okay, if there's an afterlife, there's a good place, there's a bad place.
Right. Which I was totally fine with. I was like, if that's how it is, like going to heaven, like going to the good place, I'd be like, that's fine. You just get to walk into this beautiful, like,
Light.
yeah, it's like all colorful
All
and
pretty.
stuff. Yeah, it's all pretty, and it looks like there was a bunch of people there to greet him as he was walking.
Yeah, I going back on what you said about the special effects, like, yeah, it's pretty bad, but when it came to the final scene, when, you know, Sam was moving on, he's going towards the light, and the special effects aren't crisp, but I think it worked well with this, because when it was almost like the shadows on him was disappearing, because then Molly could see him, she could hear him, and all of a sudden you kind of like, it was a very gradual reveal of him, and it's like, oh, there he is, like the light was fluttering on him, and and I liked that, and then how it just kind of grew from behind him.
I wonder how it's like,
and then engulfed the whole picture.
I think it's just because Molly, like, she fully believed that he was there.
Yeah.
And so it was like this.
Maybe that gave her the power to, like, see and hear him finally.
You could, I don't know. I almost kind of looked at it as like the Lord kind of just being like,
You get one,
letting her
goodbye.
see him, having your goodbye.
Yeah.
Because he stuck around and did this great thing, and, you know, people were punished that need to be punished, and letting her say goodbye, letting them both be like, okay, let's have this moment, you know, which I thought was so sweet.
Well, I wanted to ask you, one of the final quote, like the last thing that Patrick Swayze character says is, "It's amazing, Molly, the love inside, you take it with you." Mm-hmm. What did you think he meant by that, or what did that mean to you when he said that?
I think just like just all of the, like, it's almost like you forget about all of the bad stuff, the hurt in your life, like just anything that ever was that you enjoyed and loved, like that is what you go into. Every bad thing in your life, anything that ever like hurt you, made you sad, like it disappears. All you bring with you is like the happiness and the love that you carry inside. So it's like all of that stuff disappears, and it's just that forever.
Yeah. So what do you think you learned from this film?
I definitely learned that I would be horrified. It'd be horrifying for me if I somehow died in some accident, and, you know, you were left behind to deal with that, because I was just watching Molly, and I'm like, I don't know how someone could go through that, you know?
Right.
Just like this random act of violence, and then it just changes your whole world in a matter of seconds.
Yeah. Well, like he said near the beginning of the film, the two characters, they're just kind of in bed talking, and they had the TV on, and there was like the news, and like somebody died. There was a plane crash. There was a plane crash and people died, and he makes a comment. He's like, you know, just like that, you're gone. Like
just like that, he snaps his fingers.
Yeah, your life can change, and then it was kind of foreshadowing. Yeah, it's foreshadowing for him, what happened to him. But it's true. It's crazy. You don't know what the next day will hold.
Yeah, you know what any day holds for you, so it's almost like live it up to the best that you can.
Yeah, like not to be fearful of the world or your life.
Can't.
Like you can't hide and not live it just of fear of something might happen, but, you know, it makes you grateful for what you have
exactly
every day, because you never know when it's going to be the last. Like, so that's like, you always should tell the people you love that you love them, because you don't know.
Right.
You don't know when the next time you'll see them or what will happen.
It's like make every moment precious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. So, did you learn anything about me from watching the film?
Oh yeah. I mean, I definitely.
Oh yeah.
Definitely the like what I mentioned, just like the idea of like loss like that. Like I just, because I know how much like we depend on each other, and I just couldn't imagine if something happened to one of us. And I think that just it addressed more of me knowing from you of like how deep our love goes, because like just that.
Or you just like the comparing?
Yeah, just and it's almost like it's almost like it teaches you a lesson of like like make sure you make every moment precious. Like I think we have a pretty good we always make sure like we say goodbye to each other in the morning. We say I love you and all that, and like we just do it, but it's something that you need to do,
Yeah.
And I think it's what I learned about you is like how, because I always knew how precious those moments are to you, just like those little moments of like, let's say goodbye, let's say good night, let's say good morning, and just to think like that could all be gone, it just terrifies me. And I wouldn't want either of us to go through that, especially you. I think if one of us was to be killed, I think I'd rather it be me, and then I'd rather have you try to move on. I'd rather you have a life than,
You rather you be killed?
Well, if it was between us,
Yeah.
I would rather I'd rather it be me.
No, oh no.
But and I think I also learned like just how, because you can feel the love in this movie. And I think I understand like why it resonates with you so much, because you're such a loving person.
Aw.
And I could tell like, oh yeah, this is definitely like her type of movie,
Well, it's got fantasy elements.
and fantasy, which I know you like fantasy elements. Yeah. Which I thought was cool. Like I expected it to be mostly like a cheesy love movie, but then it's not. It's like this suspenseful, dramatic, fantasy movie.
Yeah, I mean, there's suspense. There's a little bit of horror in it, because you've got the creepy creatures and the deaths and the blood. And
I like the moment when the train man's like teaching Sam how to touch things, like what emotions he has to pull from.
Yeah.
And you kind of find out like the reason that the train man, he can just like, smack everything out of people's hands on the trains, because he's so angry that he claims that like someone pushed me in front of the train and it wasn't my time. And he's just
that's why
pissed.
he's still there.
That's why he's still there, and he won't let go. And so that's why he's still in touch with the material world.
Yeah.
So I think that was kind of an interesting theme of like, literally he can't let go of the world, so that's why he can still touch it and he can't move on.
Right.
And then you just see Patrick Swayze's just like, oh geez, I don't want to become like that.
Yeah.
So you could tell it was like, this is like, which I think could have been something more interesting for them to elaborate on.
But I kind of like the mystery of it. Like, you touch upon it and you give enough information for you to kind of like make it up in your mind of like, oh, I wonder who he was and how he got there. It's like, oh, well, someone pushed him, so he got killed too early.
Well, I mean, like, say if this was a longer movie, you could even go into him learning how to touch things, and it's almost like he could almost have a sort of relationship with Molly that way, which would have been very unhealthy.
If they went a different route where he learned to maybe like write, he could start writing stuff and then communicate with her that way. But I guess one final thought I liked about the movie before we start wrapping up here is near the end, to kind of like fully convince her that he was there. He had Oda Mae flick a penny under the door. Yeah. Because she was on the other side of the door. Like, Oda Mae was there trying to tell her that she's in danger. And in the beginning of the film, when they're breaking down the walls to renovate their apartment, they found this jar with an old penny in it. Yeah. And so that's why he said, oh, flick a penny under the door. And then he lifted it up with his finger and floated it towards her. I think it was like a two-part thing. It was like, one,
it's connecting to Sam because of the penny and what that meant to them.
Yeah.
And 2, it was like, obviously he's there because a penny's floating in front of her face.
Yeah.
And I was just like, man, that's heavy.
That's heavy. Yeah, that's a heavy moment.
Yeah, and she's just like, oh my gosh, this is really real. Because she kept going back and forth, because it was very distraughting for her, because she's like, he's there, he's not, this is all in her head, or she's like, I can't move on because I'm constantly thinking about him, like he's everywhere.
Yeah.
And then somebody's pushing in my face that he's alive, and he's not alive, but his ghost is there and talking, trying to communicate. Like, that would be a lot to take.
Oh, that'd be a lot to take in. You'd really have to, because she thinks she's being duped, because she tries to go to the police about this, like tries to tell about the killer and all this, but like they won't believe, because then the police, instead of pulling the file on the man, like the killer, they pull it on Otome, and she's got a long record because she does fake IDs and stuff, and just little petty crimes, but it's just, it added up enough to like kind of convince Molly that like, oh, maybe this isn't real, maybe she is duping me. But what I was saying with like the train man thing is like, that just would have been interesting, of like how much he could have like clinged into the world, and it almost would have been a thing of like, okay, he really has to learn to let go. Because it's like, if he can just channel all these emotions to be able to touch and communicate with Molly, he could just stay there, and he could be comfortable.
Bad,
yeah, and I think that was like a little thing they could have elaborated on more, but you know, I think it was fine the way it was. Yeah.
All right, babe. Moment of truth. Do you yuck it or yum it?
I yum it. It was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a hard yum, like but you know, it was good.
Yeah.
I very much enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot more than I expected it to be, which I was glad. I was glad.
So you were pleasantly surprised.
I was, yeah. A lot of it had to do with the performances, because I think the overall, like, the plot of the movie was fine. It was good. It was a little cheesy, but I think this was one of those things where it's like the performances carried it.
Sure, yeah.
You know, I think if they
Absolutely.
I think if this had been done with any other different actors, it may not have
been as successful.
No, and it may not have gone on, because this was apparently nominated for Best Picture.
Yeah,
I
think
didn't
it's
know.
a very pop culture movie. Like, it's one of those movies that it's like a guilty pleasure kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, it's not the best movie ever.
No.
But you just like it, that you would, you know, you'd curl up and get some popcorn and watch this movie.
Yeah, this is definitely like a rainy day, like, you know, someone just breaks up with you type movie, I think.
Yeah, or like a girls' night. It's just more, like girls' night movie.
I tried to do some research on the writer and the director, and it was just one of those, like, the director, he directed this, but he also directed apparently Airplane.
Oh, that's a different movie.
I know.
From this.
It could have just been like, he was just like a working director. He didn't have like a main style he did. It was just like, oh, get him to direct this movie. And then it just turned out he directed Ghost, and Ghost was really popular. The same with the writer. I think a lot of like the movies that the writer had done were just kind of like, some here, some there, and then Ghost was like the big standout one.
Okay.
It's like, if you look up their information, it's like they're most well known for Ghosts. They're most well known, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So nothing too important to say about them. Sorry if you guys are still alive, but you made a good movie. Yeah, he had great actors in it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think I have anything more I want to say. Yeah. I guess there's just, the acting was great. I haven't seen a lot of Demi Moore movies, but anytime I do, she does wow me, because I think she is a great actress.
Yeah, they both did well.
Mm-hmm.
So would you like to let the listeners know what's going on for next week?
Mm-mm.
You don't want to?
I'm worried. They're not going to tune in for it.
They will.
Or so I'm going to make court. So in light of, no one knows about this.
Sure they do.
The Justice League movie that's coming out on HBO Max, it's like the kind of the director's cut.
They know. No, a lot of people do know about it.
Oh, they do?
Yeah.
You've talked to them all?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
I've talked to everybody. No, I was talking to people at work about it. They're like, the Snyder Cut.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'm shocked.
But so
Batman we're gonna do
Superman.
Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, the Ultimate Edition, which is 3 hours long. So I don't expect everyone to watch it, but that is what we're gonna be doing next week.
Oh, and that's what I'm watching. That's what we're watching.
Yeah, that's what we're watching.
3.5 hours long.
It's 3 hours.
Oh,
and it's a movie that it's not one of my favorite movies, but it is a movie that has come up in a lot of conversations between me and a lot of people because I'm a superhero nerd.
True.
So yeah, so we're gonna tackle that. We're gonna see how this goes.
All right, people. Well, tune in next week to see how this goes. It's gonna be interesting to say the least.
What a jump!
It is a jump.
Oh jeez.
Well, I guess we'll find out to see if I actually like.
You won't.
Well, then it's going to be a great discussion.
It is. I'm excited for the discussion.
Well, thank you, everybody, for listening to another episode of Don't Yuck My Yum. We'll see you next week.
Bye. Hey, everybody. This is Carlito Gilchrist from the Don't Yuck My Yum pod. I just want to say thank you to everybody who's tuning in and listening every week. We really appreciate it. If you'd like to leave a review for the show, you can leave it on Apple Podcasts. You can give us a 1 to 5 star rating. We prefer the 5-star ratings, but it's your opinion. It's whatever you like. As well, you can listen to us on Spotify and Anchor.fm and anywhere else where podcasts are available. I believe we're up on there. If you have any suggestions for future episodes or insights on past episodes, you can always email us at don'tyuckmyyumpod@gmail.com. As well, you can follow us on Don't Yuck My Yum Pod on Instagram. And yeah, I just want to say thanks for listening, everybody. We really appreciate it. Have a good week. So long. Bye-bye.